Thanks for joining us. We begin this news hour in the occupied West Bank, where the government of Jordan says it's investigating a shooting attack at a border crossing that left 3 Israelis dead. It's the first incident of its kind between Jordan and Israel in years. The attack happened at the Allenby border crossing. That's a bridge over the River Jordan, which links Jordan to the occupied West Bank, though it's controlled by Israel on the other side. The gunmen arrived from the Jordanian side by truck and shot at Israeli forces in a commercial cargo area under Israeli control. The attacker fired his weapon 3 times before being shot dead. Israel has closed all land crossings with Jordan in response. There's no airport in the occupied West Bank, so the Allenby crossing is the only one Palestinians can use to connect to the rest of the world. Nida Ibrahim has more from Jericho in the occupied West Bank.
The Allenby crossing is one of 3 points that the Palestinians, when they want to travel outside of the occupied West Bank, have to cross in order to be able to travel. Remember, this is the only exit and entry when it comes to Palestinians in the occupied West Bank to the outer world, a place that is highly militarized, highly secured. There are lots and lots of soldiers, security personnel, as well as a private security company that provides security there. This is why the attack has raised so many questions. How come a gunman being able to cross from the Jordanian side, being able to bypass all of these security measures and be able not only to hold a weapon there, but shoot and kill 3 Israelis? This is raising a lot of questions amongst the Israeli security establishment. This is why they have closed not only Allenby, but the other 2 land crossings that connect and allows people to go from Jordan to Israel and vice versa. The fact that he is a Jordanian is also raising a lot of questions, is how this happened, because in the past there has been attempts by some people to smuggle themselves or to cross from Jordan to the occupied West Bank, and all of these attempts have been thwarted. But this time this becomes and this is already considered as a major security breach, and the Israeli security establishment will have so many questions to answer. For now, so many travelers cannot go back and forth, and they're still waiting to see when their only exit to the outer world will be reopened. Nida Ibrahim, Al Jazeera, Jericho, the occupied West Bank, Palestine.
Let's speak to Hamdah Salhut now, who joins us live from the Jordanian side of the border. So, Hamdah, what are the Jordanian authorities saying about this incident?
Well, the Interior Ministry has opened an investigation into the matter, but there have been no initial findings to that probe just yet. But the Jordanian side of the border was closed shortly after the Israelis had shuttered the Allenby border crossing, along with the other 2 land crossings that it shares with Jordan. But we do know that the one in the north had reopened earlier on Sunday, but at a much slower rate, allowing just 10 passengers per bus to go in at a time. To give you an idea of the King Hussein Bridge crossing, you're looking at around 2,500 Palestinians who regularly go in and out of the occupied West Bank on a daily basis. We spoke to several of those Palestinians who were on their way out of the border going back into Jordan, saying that they're essentially stranded and they're not knowing when they can go back to their homes.
And Hamdah, this crossing is not only just important for people, but also for trade and aid, of course, between Jordan and Palestine.
That's exactly right. The aid trucks that come from Jordan that are going to the Gaza Strip because of the war are coming from this crossing. So there are quite the number of security measures that are in place. So you first have the trucks that go to a completely separate area. They're scanned by the Jordanians. They are also checked. The papers of the drivers are checked. They're given an initial scan. They go through a large scanner as well to see what's inside, to make sure there are no explosives, there are no weapons, there are no human beings that are being taken in those trucks. Then they give the go-ahead to the Israeli side that this truck is going to enter, and these are the types of goods that are inside. And once it reached that Israeli side early this morning, that's actually when the gunmen had opened fire and killed 3 Israelis, all of whom live in illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank.
All right, Hamdah, many thanks for that. Hamdah Salhut there on the Jordanian side of that border crossing. Let's speak to Jawad Anani, who's a former Foreign Affairs Minister for Jordan. He joins us now from Amman, the Jordanian capital. Welcome to Al Jazeera. So we've just heard from our correspondent describing the level of security arrangements that exist at this highly important crossing known on the Jordanian side as the King Hussein Bridge. We're talking about security scanners, state-of-the-art equipment. So in your mind, what's gone wrong here?
Well, I think, under the current circumstances where there's so much Palestinian blood being spilled all over, people are watching on a daily basis the atrocities that are being committed by Israeli soldiers. So it has to touch the feelings of somebody who would probably go out of his way to do something that the Jordanians do not want, and actually they don't condone. So in a way, I think this is an expression of anger on the part of someone who used to be a soldier and who believes that things have gone beyond control, and there is very little compassion or empathy with the Palestinians. Jordan does everything possible to prevent such events from taking place. And even when they took place in the past, Jordan immediately followed the international law, regulations and protocols which are signed between the two countries and which are acknowledged internationally. So, this is not the first incident that happens on the borders. But still, these are very rare and very few to come. And we think that the borders are very secure. But at the same time, under the current circumstances, Jordan has no control, or the government, over everybody's feelings, how they feel or how they react.
Yeah, fortunately, as you say, sorry to interrupt, fortunately, as you say, very rare, but nevertheless, this has happened at a time of extremely high tensions with pretty serious repercussions if the Israelis now decide that they are going to tighten their grip on the occupied West Bank. Did Jordan take its eye off the ball here, do you think?
I think, probably given the current Israeli government and the moods that control its decisions, I believe that Jordan must be very careful and should really remind the Israelis that we are bound by a peace treaty. Incidents like that and atrocities by Israelis were committed inside Jordan. They killed a Jordanian judge in 1997. They killed two workers in the embassy inside Amman, and we allowed them to go. I think that there is an amicable way to do it. But if the Israelis are going to use this in order to break the contracts of peace and the conditions and terms of the peace treaty that is signed by the two countries, then Jordan will have to react to that.
As you say,
there is no way to just...
As you say, Israel and Jordan are bound by this 1994 peace treaty. What security arrangements exist between the two countries since that treaty was signed? Is there, for instance, the sharing of intelligence between their respective services on the Israeli and Jordanian side?
I am the wrong guy to ask, really. I'm not privy to such information, but I would assume that there are. There is a coordination. There must be something like that. You cannot clap with one hand if you want to maintain security on both sides of the border. The fact that these borders were kept very well, I think it indicates that there has been a certain degree or a high degree of coordination. I agree with you.
But is it fair to say that irrespective of that 1994 peace treaty, relations must be frayed right now, given how large the Jordanian-Palestinian population of Jordan is, something like 3 million?
That's right, but first of all, this is not the anger that Jordanians feel is not limited to Jordanians of Palestinian origin. It is really universal among all Jordanians. They feel that the Israelis have crossed every human border. They have violated every human rights of the Palestinians. And now when we focus on a given event, somehow we forget the total picture. The total picture, as far as we are concerned in Jordan, is very bleak on the Israeli side. And they commit so much violations and murders to the point that, most Jordanians, if not all of them, are extremely angry and unhappy about what's happening.
Jawad Anani, former Foreign Affairs Minister for Jordan, good to hear your thoughts. Thanks for joining us on Al Jazeera.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.